Jamaica News and Sports for July 6, 2019. Cop held on suspicion of theft. A constable attached to the St. Elizabeth Police Division is behind bars this morning on suspicion of theft. He was taken into custody yesterday following an early morning operation in Lacovia, St. Elizabeth. It's reported that the constable was part of a team which searched a house. After the search, the occupant of the house reported that money was missing. The cops who were involved in the operation were reportedly searched and the constable allegedly found with the missing cash. He was taken into custody. A case file is being prepared for submission to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions for a ruling. Cop arrested after boy 13, killed in car accident in St. Catherine. A police constable is in custody following a motor vehicle accident on the Bernard Lodge Main Road in St. Catherine, which claimed the life of a 13-year-old boy on Friday, July 5. The deceased teenager has been identified as Tyrese Williams of Clifton District, Portmore in St. Catherine. Reports are that about 11:30 a.m., the officer was driving his private motor vehicle along the roadway when Tyrese was hit. The teen was taken to hospital where he was pronounced dead while being treated. The police constable was subsequently arrested. A file is being prepared and will be submitted to the Director of Public Prosecutions for a ruling. Standoff in Senate as more claims are made against Ruel Reid. Opposition Senator Lambert Brown on Friday said household helper Doreen Miller, who has found herself at the center of the scandal involving the former Minister of Education, Ruel Reid, has declared that she did not receive any of the nearly $4 million found in an account bearing her name. That, and other matters involving Reid and activities at the Caribbean Maritime University, CMU, over which the Ministry of Education has oversight responsibility, are now part of several investigations. Brown's comment about Miller, and his insistence on going down a certain path during the debate on the act to amend the Petroleum Act, led to Senate President Tom Tavares Finson eventually ruling that Brown could take no further part in the debate. That led to a walkout by opposition senators. The Petroleum Act was amended to allow for the transfer of $208 billion from the Petro-Caribe Fund to the Consolidated Fund. It was previously passed in the House of Representatives. Brown started out by stating that, the public is aware of strange payments through the CMU to a so-called household helper of the then Minister Ruel Reid. The opposition senator said he had used the word so-called deliberately. I want to know if that almost $4 million allegedly instructed to be paid to Miss Doreen Miller, the so-called household helper of former Minister Ruel Reid, came out of any of that Petro-Caribe money that went to the CMU, said Brown. Stating that it was important to know whether Miller had received any of the money, Brown answered his own question. I don't need an answer from the government. Miss Miller has spoken to me and she said not a single cent of the money came to her, said Brown, who attempted to continue but was cut off by Tavares Finson. Senator Brown, with the greatest of respect, if that be the case, maybe you need to give a statement to the PAAC, Public Administration and Appropriations Committee of the Parliament, or to the police, Tavares Finson said. Anybody want the statement, come and ask me for it, Brown responded. Tavares Finson appealed to Brown to stick to the script by ensuring his presentation was relevant to the specific legislation that was being debated. However, Brown would persist. He proceeded to ask whether Miller was asked to open a bank account for which the bank card and the bank information were controlled by a family member of Reid's. At this time, Pernell Charles Jr., who was acting as leader of government business in the Senate, rose on what was the first of a handful of points of order from him. Charles Jr. told Brown that his presentation was not relevant to the debate, but the opposition senator insisted that clauses 4 and 6b of the bill spoke to the liability of the Petro-Caribe Fund. And I read those, and I'm therefore asking about the liability. Who has the liability for those money which went through the CMU to this fund, because I'm aware that the account of Miss Miller that she opened, was controlled by family members of the then minister, so I want to know who is going to pay it back, said Brown. He said the opposition was not opposed to the transfer of the $208 billion from the Petro-Caribe Fund to the Consolidated Fund, Rather, he said it was concerned about how well the money will be spent. Brown noted that the Member of Parliament for North Clarendon, Horace Daly, during the House debate on the bill had asked the Energy Minister Fable Williams whether any funds, $400 million, were sent to the CMU from the Petro-Caribe Fund. Brown noted that the minister did not provide an answer. On Friday, Brown questioned whether the money sent to the CMU is a liability that has to be paid back. Given what I have heard coming out of the parliamentary committee about the CMU, I want to know whether any of this Petro-Caribe money is part of a kickback we are operating through the CMU, a kickback scheme to a particular former minister of government, said Brown. At this point, Tavares Finson reminded Brown that he had already made a ruling about relevance and told him to move on. If you wish to deal with this issue, there are other ways to deal with it, the Senate president said. But, Brown would not relent, declaring that it is important that we don't blame Doreen Miller for the CMU money. When a senator inquired about his reason for mentioning Miller, Brown said, "I have permission so to do, I have permission so to do. She wants her name cleared." Government Senator Charles Sinclair told Brown the Senate was not the place to clear the lady's name. It is inappropriate for the senator, Brown, to be detailing matters that are under investigation, not only details, but he's giving particulars, arising from his own investigation, which in my view, could compromise the investigation that is being carried out, and it should not be permitted, said Government Senator Ransford Braham. At this stage, Tavares Finson warned Brown. He said, "Senator Brown, I have made the ruling, so continue down that road at your own peril." Brown fired back, stating that he had no fear when he was on the quest for the truth. Tavares Finson responded, pointing out that Brown had been calling the names of people who have not been convicted before any court. "You're calling names in a matter that the whole country knows is under investigation," he added. At this point, Opposition Senator K.D. Knight told Tavares Finson that Brown should be allowed to continue in the public interest, but the president would not budge on what should be addressed in the debate, to which Brown responded, "My freedom of speech is not going to be muzzled." At one stage, Brown said it was his purpose to clear Miller's name. "In relation to that aspect of your presentation, if you return there, I'm going to bring your presentation to a close," Tavares Finson responded. Still defiant, Brown said, "Mr. President, I don't need to engage you on this because more will come out later on." The issue of relevance was again raised when Brown asked whether any of the $208 billion being transferred from the Petro-Caribe Fund to the Consolidated Fund would be spent to upgrade the consular service. He asked the question in the context of the alleged mistreatment of 5 Jamaican fishermen by the United States Coast Guard, against which the men have since taken legal action. During the numerous interventions and points of order from the government side, Opposition Senator Wentworth Scafree could be heard asking, "How unno so nervous, how unno so nervous?" The back and forth saw Brown asking whether the president had lost control of the Senate after he was interrupted for the umpteenth time. "Continue and you will find out," Tavares Finson quipped. 15 minutes later, Brown proposed the setting up of a broad-based entity similar to EPOC, Economic Program Oversight Committee, to oversee how the $208 billion is spent. He then made mention of several scandals that have dogged the Jamaica Labour Party government since the party retook the reins of government in 2016. Brown then warned that this money could go down the drain because I have seen 2 ministers separated for at least mismanagement, and based on what some people are saying inside the parliamentary chamber, at least one could very well. The opposition senator did not finish the statement, as he could be heard responding to a colleague telling him to be careful by asking, "Careful of what?" At the same time, Senator Braham rose on a point order, stating that he did not want Brown to finish the statement. Braham pointed out that Brown was at least insinuating the names of persons in wrongdoing. "It's not the function of this chamber to convict anybody, it's a dangerous trend," Braham said. At this point, the Senate President pointed to Section 43(1) of the Standing Orders and ruled that Brown discontinue his presentation, resulting in the opposition senators walking out of the chamber. While government members applauded the ruling, Brown was not done. On his way out the chamber, he could be heard shouting, "The Commissioner of Police has said a minister is under criminal investigation." Police Commissioner Major General Anthony Anderson has said that Reid is under a criminal probe. Following the walkout, the sitting continued and the bill was eventually passed without amendment. In sports today, Fraser-Pryce dominates 100m field in Lausanne. Following an indifferent run in Stanford last weekend, Jamaica's two-time Olympic champion Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce scored a dominant victory in the Diamond League 100 meters in Lausanne on Friday to confirm her return to the top of athletics. The 32-year-old, on the comeback trail after taking time away from the sport to give birth to her son Zian, clocked 10.74 seconds for the victory. Britain's Asher Smith, 23, ran a season's best time of 10.91 seconds to beat world silver medalist Marie-Josée Talu, 10.93 SEC, into third. Fraser-Pryce's time was only 0.02 seconds slower than Marion Jones' 21-year-old meeting record. "I came to Lausanne in a very happy state of mind, despite a poor performance in Stanford," said Fraser-Pryce. "I am delighted with 10.74 today. Such ups and downs make sure that you do not take anything for granted and do not get complacent. It's a long season this year, but I'm feeling great," she added. "Let's see how the season progresses. I will happily embrace anything that the season will throw at me. I am going to enjoy it and do my best." Earlier, Stephanie Ann McPherson finished third in the women's 400 meter in 50.88, while her Jamaica teammate Sharika Jackson ended 8th in 52.35. Bahrain's Sulwa Eid Nazar made it 4 victories from as many Diamond League races this year to win in 49.17 seconds, smashing the previous Lausanne record of 49.45 seconds set by Marie-Josée Parikh in 1996. Nigerian Aminatu Sinai pushed Nazar all the way to finish second in 49.19. Jamaicans Shanika Ricketts, 14.65 m, and Kimberly Williams, 14.52, finished 4th and 5th in the women's triple jump, won by IAAF Female Athlete of the Year Kate Ryan in a season's best 14.89 m in the penultimate round. Ibargún's winning jump was 7 cm over second-place world champion Yulimar Rojas. Ricketts took an early lead with 14.65 m, only to be surpassed by Rojas's second-round leap of 14.82 m, taking off 14 centimeters behind the board. Cuba's Liudagmis Pavia jumped 14.66 m in round 2 and a lifetime best of 14.77 m in round 4. Going into the 5th round, Ibargún was down in 4th place with a best of 14.57 m but then unleashed her winning leap to maintain her lead at the top of the Diamond League triple jump standings. For the first time ever outside of a major championship, 8 women jumped beyond 14.35 m. Jamaica's Ronald Lovey finished third in the men's 110-meter hurdles in 13.25 seconds. Orlando Ortega produced his fastest time for 3 years to win the event. The Olympic silver medalist had arrived in Lausanne off the back of a handful of victories, including at last weekend's IAAF Diamond League meeting in Stanford, but his season's best of 13.24 made him just the 4th fastest in the field. The Spaniard produced a near-flawless race and held off a strong challenge from NCAA runner-up Daniel Roberts in the latter stages to win in 13.05. Roberts, competing in his first race as a professional athlete, clocked 13.11. Jamaica's Genevieve Russell clocked 55.13 seconds for 4th in the women's 400-meter hurdles. Shamir Little replicated her victory from 12 months ago, clocking a season's best of 53.73. Zuzana Hejanova and Olympic bronze medalist Ashley Spencer were both timed at 54.11 with the Czech athlete getting the verdict. Spencer's time was her fastest performance since winning in Lausanne 2 years ago. In the men's long jump, Jamaica's Tajay Gale could only manage 4th with a leap of 8.13 m. Despite struggling to hit the board, world indoor champion Juan Miguel Echeverria came away with the victory. The young Cuban sailed out to 8.32 m in round 2, taking off 30 centimeters behind the plasticine. He followed it with a leap of 8.11 m, this time 42 centimeters shy of the plasticine. His second round leap proved sufficient to win, though, as Greece's Miltiadis Tentoglou finished second with 8.19 m. There was another fourth-place finish for Jamaica through Daniel Thomas Dodd, 18.36, in the women's shot put won by Christina Schwanitz of Germany. The 2015 world champion led the shot put from the first round, opening with 18.68 m and improving to 19.04 m in round 4. All 5 of her valid throws would have been enough to win.